Hey, RetconRaider here, and welcome back to Battle Brothers Season 3. As today, we've got the goods, we've got the ambition, but, sometimes you just can't resist chasing some ash. So yes, our short-term plan today, rather than finishing up our current ambition, though we will do that if we get the chance, is to instead see if we can track down 4 sparkling ash, which we need to summon the Kraken. And it turns out that we've actually got a necropolis just across the way. I mean, not exactly right around the corner, but, same general geographic region. That said, before we head out, I'm thinking it's also time we start using up some of these last few potions. We're coming up on crisis number 2, so there's not a whole lot of point in keeping them banked for too much longer. And I will say I was considering giving Seymore the Potion of Malevolence, but since we've already given him a damage reduction potion, we'll just pair it with leather skin instead. Just doesn't feel like it makes much sense to pair damage reduction with damage reflection. Oh, and of course we'll also try to generally restrict people to just 2 potions apiece. Gotta spread the love. That said, we've already got a target in mind, but we might as well pick up a contract while we're at it. Possibly kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Let's see what we've got. Oh, webnecked. Ulfert the Steward waves you into his room. You notice that there are pitchfork-armed men keeping vigilant watch by means of grimly staring out his windows. Though one of these fellows is clearly asleep against the wall. You ask the settlement's mayor what it is he wants. He gets to the point. Townsfolk in the hinterlands are reporting monstrosities taking children and dogs and the like. Now, I don't mean to give leeway to paranoia and superstition, but it sounds an awful lot like these reports are talking about spiders. Webnecked, as my father would call them. And if it's true, then it's likely they've a nest in these parts. And I need you to find and destroy it. You interested, Sellsword? I mean, not really, but we could use the silk. Webnecks just aren't much of a threat anymore. They used to be something that could easily overwhelm us, but these days we can mulch through them pretty quick, which I guess is all the more reason to do it. We'll get in, get out, collect our pay, and our components. I mean, look, nets are a whole lot more effective if they're reinforced. And someday I'll remember to actually use all this poison we keep amassing. The nest is an easy spot, a stretch of winterscape where there's no cold. The white webbing patchy and listing from every tree, every copse, every inch of the place. You march the company right in, weapons drawn. And there you come across the wrapped bodies. Their centers blown open and blackened, a spawn of spiderlings sucking on the organs. Staring up, you see red eyes flare between the branches of the surrounding trees. The whole arachnid arboretum come alive. Its wardens perch there amongst the brush with their squatted legs indistinguishable from the branches. The enemy hiding in plain sight. You damn near shit yourself when a supposed tree unfolds entirely. Every wooden stalk but a spider leg. The arborist slight descending on the company, chittering and chamfering for a bite. Oh, wow. I don't think I've ever seen that description before. Nice wordsmithing there. Arachnid Arboretum. I'll have to file that one away in my brain. As for the fight itself, the raiders really have nothing to fear here. Standing firm as the chitinous carpet crawls forth. Swarming over the landscape. Mandibles glistening. With mildly inconvenient venom. And I'm sure I've said it before, but this is the sort of fight that would really benefit from there being higher tiers of webnecked or webnecked adjacent foes, actual humanoid spider creatures, particularly giant spiders, etc. Though again, that's all the more reason, I suppose, to potentially consider one of the overhaul mods if we end up doing a season 4. I don't think we ever gave Peasant Militia a proper go. That would let me fit in more raiders and rank and file viewers. Even if it does close out some of the potentially interesting origins. The raiders wasted no time in laying waste to the webnecked. Blades and bullets biting deep. Though Arrow finally felled the first three with a fearsome flurry. Rassel rousted one more. The rest of the raiders rushing in. Even Random, who, despite his distaste, still dashed one more. Though it probably helped that he could now keep them at arm's length. As could Rook, who ran through one more. Cetra smashed another. And honestly, in retrospect, I suppose the only raiders present who would actually be unfamiliar with these fiends would be Giannis and Seymore? I think pretty much all the others at this point would consider it old hat. And here come the webs. Great sticky strands binding the raiders in place. Seymore the first to fall prey. Appropriate given his lack of experience. Though soon followed by Rassel as well. Zarmal knifed another. Trip as well. A few raiders holding their breath, but the arachnid did not rise. Whilst Alois reloaded. But no contact. Diego dispatched another. Arrow one more. As dictated by the nebulous raider commander. Largely just for the sake of the later kill count. Such as the two that Katronicus just killed. Lest he lose track. A wide swing and three. Three more swept off the map by random happenstance. Seymore finally struck one down, splitting it in twain. Cetris smashing two more for good measure. And then came the second wave. Younger, gleaming, soft-shelled spiders. Freshly hatched, not yet carapaced. But still potentially dangerous to the unwary. Valin found himself under threat. Trip quickly planting his dagger in one's face. Alois really struggling with his handgun. Though Val certainly was not. One web-necked, scorched, another impaled. As the Beast Slayer swiftly switched off to his fire lance. Arrow shot another one through. Zarmal zapped another. And honestly, the fight was pretty much over at this point. It was only a matter of time before the rest of the swarm scattered. Rushed along by Rassel. Though Seymore found himself briefly stymied by sticky strands. And a few more came scuttling in. Too new to know any better but to rush to their doom. One even landing a hit. Though not enough to pierce through Diego's defenses. Finding himself freed up, Valin's sling set to a whirlin'. One spider falling, then two. And a third as well, my goodness. Rook ending another. Giannis yeeted one more. Zarmal considering his options. But then also realizing he was actually webbed down, which I didn't notice at first. There we go. Trying to pick out the living enemies amidst all the corpses. I think we've just got the two. Three. Four if we count the one bearing down on Giannis. Beyond that, it's just the egg clutches plus a few fresh hatchlings that haven't come into view. Though they should start to flee any time now. There we go. Yep, they're done. I mean, we're not going to go way out of our way to try to run any down, but we'll finish the ones already engaged, possibly claim a clutch or two. Bank the easy XP. Thank you, Zarmal. And, you know, we do need the silk. I guess that's a good reason as well. I'm actually not sure if the egg clutches count as full kills. I'll have to double check that once we hit the kill screen. I don't normally go out of my way to take them out, since generally speaking, outside of the early game, they really just kind of generate free XP. And with the last errant arachnids eliminated, the raiders began to branch out, beating the bushes as they sought out any remaining nests. And with two ultimately banked, they called it a day. Nicely done, raiders. What was that, like 10 minutes? Yeah, that's not too bad. Gives us plenty of time to run down those necrosavants. Not sure if the egg clutches actually counted, but I'll double check that in post. And hey, got a fair bit of spider silk as well. You step closer to the last of the webnecks and stare at its grisly maw. It carries a vicious set of mandibles for a sort of gum guard, the mouth itself a slit, lined with razor-sharp teeth, pointed countercurrent as to shred anything that tried to escape. You order the whole nest put to the torch. As the flames rise, there comes the cry of spiderlings somewhere in their warrens. Let's be done with this. We have crowns to collect. Ulfred the Steward welcomes you back with a great clap and rub of his hands, as if you'd just brought him a turkey and not the horrifying evidence of your victory. After paying you the agreed reward, you hear some surprising news. The mayor states that the estate of a lost townsman could not be properly divvied up, and as further thanks, You're free to take what's left of it. Oh, well, aren't you a dear? I've never actually had venison. Not really something that tended to come up much back when I lived in Florida. Honestly, you were more likely to run into alligator at a lot of restaurants. But probably a bit more common these days, at least where I am now. And yeah, I've got to remind myself not to use up that unhold hide. We actually need that. But the bones we can burn. Also, I guess, shoot, yeah, we need to pick up more nets. Otherwise, we've got nothing to reinforce. That said, with their beast problem dealt with, prices are back to relatively normal. And, what the heck, let's see what's going on here. While walking about Damwald, a messenger eases up next to you. Apparently, a local nobleman has requested your audience. Ooh, Barbarian King. Okay. One of Baron Sorrel von Goswin's servants fetches you to a garden where you find the man tending to a tomato plant. He's pruning it with goat shears and nodding to his own handiwork. He talks loosely. My scouts tell me that a northern savage in Glenmore Barrows is gathering an army. A gathering of idiots is not too out of the ordinary for those primitives, but I do believe this one is proclaiming himself king. And kings, well, they wish to be suzerain over more than just what they got. They want what everyone else has got. What I got. The man pauses and nods to you. I need you to go to the region of Glenmore Barrows, find this so-called savage king, and kill him. It will not be easy, but you will be paid quite well. Ooh, yeah, okay. That is actually a fairly substantial amount for a two-skull. Almost suspiciously so. Which does lead me to think this might have some secret twist, but honestly, if it does, I won't complain, because I don't think we've seen that particular event before. Welcome back, Seymore, now with slightly thicker skin. Verlin's still in recovery. Yeah, we'll see exactly what we're up against before we worry too much about formation. Glenmore Barrows, southwest. Are you sure? I might be overlooking it, but I'm not seeing any Glenmore Barrows at a glance, though it could be out in the fog of war. Alright, well, you know what? That actually works out for us, because that does take us out towards the Necro-Savant Fortress, which is right over there, directly west of Damwald. And I mean, as we've seen before, even if we can't track the Barbarian King down, scratch that. There we go, Barbarian King. Slightly more daunting fight than I was anticipating for a two-skull, but let's see what we can do here. We're also going in at night, so we need to take that into account. Alright, let's see how this plays out. Ooh, village as well. Though, nothing to really write home about there. Yes, okay. You find the Barbarian King, but a parley is made. The Barbarian King and an elder step across the field to meet you personally. Against better judgment, you go out to see them. The Barbarian King speaks, and the elder translates. We are not here to conquer, but to defeat the great Untoward. Suspecting a loss of translation, you ask him to explain. The king and elder continue. Death has left this land, and in its absence a man slain becomes lost between worlds, and will rise again. A horde of Untoward, the undead, are on the march. We are not here for you or your nobles. If you help us destroy them, we will depart the land and trouble your people no more. Only the Untoward. Giannis Katronicus leans in and whispers, "We could join them, sure, but we could also just go ahead and attack them now. They're clearly not at full strength, and whatever they say here, the fact is, they've been ravaging the lands anyway, because they're primitive savages, sir. And pillaging is just what they got in their blood." I mean, yeah, we could definitely kill them, but that would be rather untoward. You nod toward the Elder. All right, we'll work with you to see to this greater threat. The Elder smiles and rubs his thumbs together and speaks a few phrases in his native tongue. The Barbarian King slams his chest with his fist, and then slugs you in the shoulder with it, before arcing his hand across the sky. Laughing, the Elder explains. "So we fight together, but if we shall fall, then he will not fight with you as an undead. If slain, the king shall find death himself, and bring his scythe upon his own neck." Sure, always good to have a backup plan. Though, you know, I like to kind of plan around the idea of maybe not dying. That said, now that we know we're up against undead, now we can arrange our lines accordingly. Berlin's still sidelined, though he might be close enough to swap in anyway. Let me... Oh, yeah, we're on the march, so we'll go ahead and swap him in now. Sorry, Rassel. We're up against Undead Elite. Gotta go in with our A-listers. And yeah, I'd say this probably explains the suspiciously high pay. Oh, come on. You come to a commotion between Seymore the Glutton and a bucket. He's heaving into it so hard his back lurches like a cat, and his hurl sounds like an undead cow giving birth. When he lifts his head, his face looks like a gourd, cheeks ballooned, his mouth still all a gargle. Random comes over. He, ate the witch's apple. Raising an eyebrow, you ask the Glutton why he would do such a thing. Vomit strings wriggle from his wrist as he wipes his eyes. "'Cause you told me to eat healthy, and it was an apple." He pitches his head back into the bucket like a man who dropped 1,000,000 crowns down a well. You tell the mercenaries to keep an eye on him until it's all out of his system. That is, if it ever will be. Oh, Seymore. Yeah, that gluttony trait is not all that appealing. But, you know, in the grand scheme of things, it could certainly be worse. We already had him sidelined, so I guess no great loss, at least for the short term. Could toss him a potion, but I'm not really sure what we'd want to send his way. He doesn't get hurt enough for the Potion of Malevolence to make sense. Same with the Fool's Gold. Regen's kind of wasted if you never suffer actual wounds. I will have to give that some thought. Like a Lindworm potion could thematically be fun given his current wardrobe, but we'd have to actually go get one. That's the one potion we lost that we have yet to replace. But for now, we push on. And there they be, 22 strong. Oh man, with a unique named honor guard and an ancient priest. All right. We've got an actual fight. The savages were not lying. The ancients have put forth an army. It is a warband of decayed faces and rusted armor, a host of groaning, moaning monsters upon which light falls and instantly seeps away. It is surely an army of darkness. Were you or the barbarians to fight it alone, you would surely lose. But together, you may have a chance yet. Oh man, I hope this guy has a unique sword lance. That would be a pretty fun get. Normal sword lance. Oh, nope, unique Khopesh. Okay, yeah, we'll take that. I mean, we're already swimming in unique cleavers, but that might still be a step up. We'll get a gander once we pried it from his cold, dead hand. The raiders took position on a nearby rise, waiting as the undead horde ambled forth. Though, perhaps predictably, their primitive allies would not be stayed, surging forth on the flanks. Which the raiders were just fine with, because that would channel the remaining undead down the center, directly into their front line. And also, sidetrack a number of the skeletal warriors, so that the raiders wouldn't end up taking the brunt, especially from that ancient priest. As we saw last time around, they're not a huge threat, but they can certainly be annoying. Man, I wish those barbarian helmets were better. Honor Guard, too. I love the look. They're just really hard to justify actually using. The clash of ancient bronze on bog iron. The raiders held their ground, waiting for the captain's signal, even as those living impaired legionaries lurched right into place. A piercing shriek ringing out, a horned helm shaking as the hirsute brute attached shrugged off the effects. We've got to make sure we're the ones who get the killing blow on the champ. Otherwise, we lose the Khopesh. And with 2 of the 3 players now in place, the raiders finally forayed forth into the fray. Tommy hefting an axe, hurling it down the hill. The heavy bronze-bladed weapon bouncing off an honor guard's helm. A blast shearing off more moldering bronze, fracturing bones beneath. And Drakiith led the charge. The rest of the raiders filtering in wherever space could be found. Random joined his kin on south. No, scratch that. He stayed on center. He was sure they could fend for themselves. Besides, the raiders were his family now. Though Verlin, perhaps. Well, no, we want to make sure we claim that unique, so Verlin actually angled north, knowing that he and Diego could rotate in to claim the most coveted spots. Another blast on center, more bones blown apart. Axes hurled downstream. And Drakiith finally claimed the first kill. Skull separated from spine by a swift sweep of his scimitar. And Seymore suddenly found himself thrust forward, facing off against 4 Centurions. The Chosen now at his back, giving him a giddy thumbs up. Rax hacking another apart as well. Crescent axe cleaving through clavicle with ease. And Diego stepped up, paving a path for the mighty warrior to continue his rampage. Even as Random wrecked one more. Rook repositioned, finding the slope too steep to effectively strike down. Verlin continuing to maneuver on north. He was carefully timing his intervention, allowing his allies to do the heavy lifting before stepping in just in time to claim the kill. Though Mal was a bit less patient, pushing past to promptly engage. A swish-a-swash of his blade, another skeletal auxiliary. Undone. Ooh. And on south, the Chosen suffered the first severe wound. One warrior stumbling as his leg was nearly shorn through. Already off the board, so I'm not actually sure what that injury was. But, you know, the Raiders stayed focused on saving their own. Seymore taking a few strikes, though thankfully his new toughened skin and stab-resistant spleen certainly came in handy. Alas, the same could not be said for the Chosen on south, who found himself hewn almost to bits. Rax rearranged yet more remains. And the first Chosen turned to flee. Though the odds of him actually escaping alive were certainly slim. Rook held back, finding the barbarians blocking his path. So, you know, he couldn't aid them even if he was of a mind to. They were on their own. Oh, though. Too late. One finally did clear a path. Maybe Cetrus will head down that way. And the Raiders finally pushed in, sights set on the ancient honor guard wielding a gleaming, gilded blade. A sign of some long-forgotten station, no doubt. A person of some import before the fall. Seymore shattered and scattered another foe. Then swish-a-swash to follow through. Another Centurion. Separated from their skull. Diego ducked in, ready to support. Cetrus holding at center. And a wash of foul vapors flooded over the Raiders' center line. Random, the only one left unfazed. Others hacking and coughing, shielding their faces. inconvenienced but not yet out, even as their lungs burned. For despite that breathtaking maneuver, this fight was all but won. Half the Legion had already been dispatched, and despite their erstwhile allies having taken a casualty or two, it wouldn't be much longer now before the Raider stood victorious. And despite his own losses, the Barbarian King was likely to pull through as well. Which, you know, may or may not be a bad thing, depending on how things go after. The ancient priest's honor guard finally crumbled neath a ceaseless hail of slings and arrows. Tommy striking the final blow. Drakiith shearing apart another as well. Rook rounding to the north. Rax removing another roadblock. Plus Kamosius' shield as a bonus. Though in the short term that does make the champion slightly more dangerous, since he now gets that double grip bonus. Perhaps sensing the Raiders had things well in hand, the barbarians on north began advancing on the ancient priest. Though one did linger behind. Gotta be careful with that one. Seymore surged forward, sprinting through the suffocating smoke. Though he held back a bit, just out of Pike's reach. Kamosius clashed with the warriors around him, Khopesh clattering off Rax's cuirass, before he whirled and buried it in a chosen's face. Mal removed the last legionary on north, then circled wide. The chosen on south finally beginning to make some actual headway. The ancient priest choked off the chosen's approach. And a gutless goon finally fled on south. But the Raiders paid him no mind. There were still no guarantees they wouldn't have to kill these guys themselves, so, you know, for now at least, the fate of their potential future foes was of secondary concern. The Raiders doubled down on the Centurion's charnel champion, hacking away in both senses of the word, courtesy of the cursed priest's choking cloud. Which, you know, it would be nice if all those chosen would actually deal with the priest, not the cloud. Not sure there's much they can do about that. Though the champion wasn't much longer for this world, so regardless, the Raiders would be in the clear soon enough. spying the gaping gash in the Centurion's defenses. Verlin finally struck true, spear piercing the Centurion's sternum, rattling around inside, scattering the vital, skeletal infrastructure that kept that once mighty warrior upright. And down he went in a tumbling clatter of bronze and bones, that precious gilded Khopesh briefly lost amidst the clutter. And with the most fearsome of their foes dealt with, the raiders moved in to clear the rest. Albeit with some small degree of caution. I mean, they could still theoretically suffer some significant damage if unwary, even if the odds, well, even if the odds were vastly in their favor. Would someone please kill the ancient priest already? Honestly, what are you guys even doing? Hey, look who's back. Good for you, bud. Hopefully, I won't have to finish you off. I mean, look, we'll kill him if we've got to, but that would be a bit of a downer ending to this unlikely alliance. Though I guess the other concern is whether or not we actually get paid if we do, in fact, let them walk. Which I suppose is a hit I'd be willing to take. I mean, we're not going to kill them unprovoked. I'm not a monster. And with the final few swings, the last of the legionaries fell. Though, so too did one last northern raider. Alright guys, let's wrap this up. Hold off. I don't think we actually get penalized for friendly fire, but you know, thematically, we should probably refrain. Cetra smashed the second to last. And the final foe fell. The raiders stood victorious, along with their allies of convenience, perhaps not so convenient anymore. But they'd know momentarily. Oh, wow. Okay, that's... I mean, the durability is not great, but that's actually not bad. We might have a use for that. Man, if I'd known we were going to get so many unique cleaver drops, I would have definitely invested in Duelist. I was really kind of trying to keep my options open, you know, under the assumption we'd find more two-handers. The ancient dead have been slain to the last. As your men and the primitives pick the field, the barbarian king and the elder come to you. The large warrior nods and grunts, and the elder translates. He says you did well, very well, and that he wishes men such as yourself and your company would fight alongside him. But he understands that cannot happen. We live in a maze of many worlds, and in that maze we all shall stay, lost, sometimes hearing one another's shouts, never having enough time to know each other. He says thanks, and he wishes you well. You turn to the elder and ask if he got all that from a simple grunt. The elder smiles. The grunt, aye, and a lifelong friendship. Travel well, man of the sword. The elder hands you a horned helmet, the very one you'd seen the barbarian king himself wearing at times. He says nothing, only hits his chest, and points to the sky. And that's all there is. Okay, looks like we got our happy ending. You go off, King. Took a few flesh wounds here and there, but overall not bad. Seymore obviously took the brunt, but got some pretty solid use out of his alchemical augments. But now the other moment of truth. Let's head on back, see if we actually get paid. Baron Sorrel von Goswin welcomes you reluctantly. You realize I have scouts and spies everywhere, don't you? Holding up your empty hands, you tell him you had no intent on lying. The barbarian king will bother the lands no more. Your employer taps his fingers together a few times, then nods. Your honesty is refreshing, though I must say it is quite unfortunate the man and his warband are still alive. That said, all reports suggest they are moving away, so I suppose your work is done all the same, the fat pagan head or not. Your pay, as agreed upon. Baron! Well, color me pleasantly surprised. Everything's coming up Raiders. You know, we might... Oh, right, we may have completely blown off our actual goal for the episode, which was to go get some ash. But you know what? We saw something new, we made some gold, and we got a piece of gear that might actually come in handy. Plus a rumor about a potential relic out west. Possibly even in the tribal camp that the barbarian king came out of. Though I don't think we'd be that lucky. The place was only guarded by thralls. But regardless, you know, the Necros haven't will have to wait. We're already pushing time, so we'll hit the pause button for now. I'll take care of the usual off-screen bookkeeping. Free up some space before we foray out into the wildlands. And we will pick up here next time, as we get ourselves back on task. See you then. Oh, and special thanks to the Raiders, the fine folks who help make these videos possible, including but not limited to Eerie V23, Revenant, Alois, Bowman, Drakiith, EgonAlter, Exsellsior, Gottlieb, James Trimmier, Lady Shayna, Mark Giemza, RandomPassrby, RobbyB, Triphoppenskip, and Valinrook. Thanks for your support, guys. That said, if you'd also like to help support the channel, then feel free to push the buttons that do the things. Trust me, it does make a difference. Or you could even check out the PayPal, the Patreon, the Nexus GG, or the YouTube memberships. Links are in the description.